Right, this video is going to show you how to do the valve guide seals on a MX10 Paccar engine. That's your seal that's in your valve springs down there, because they do leak if you don't change your oil enough or you have other issues. As you can see inside here, it's all wet in there from the oil going through. So this video is going to teach you how to change them out while the cylinder head is still on the engine. Otherwise, normally you'd pull the head and do it on the bench, but we're going to do it while it's still in the truck, save some time and some money. You will need this tool in order to bar the engine over. It's tool number 642120. You can find it at your local Peterbilt or Kenworth dealership, but you will need this tool to turn the engine over. Your tooling goes into the rear structure on your passenger side. There's a plate there. You take it off and insert it there, and you just turn your ratchet until you get to TDC. There'll be a little line with the TDC mark. It's hard to see in here because it's fucking nasty, dark, and full of oil, but get to TDC, and that's where we'll start at. Next, you'll take off rockers 1 and 6. So I already took number 6 off, 15mm socket, and it's 4 bolts that come off. And make sure you disconnect your engine brake harness. You don't want to rip that apart, and you just zip it loose and pull it off, set to the side, and make sure it doesn't get dirty. The way Paccar wants you to do it, they want you to rotate the engine 120 degrees for each cylinder, but it's a little hard to see while the transmission is still in the truck, so I have another way of doing it. What I'm looking for is the piston height. I want top dead center before I pull the spring off of the valve, because the valve will drop down into the cylinder. If the piston's there, it'll hold it there, but if the piston's too low, your valve goes bye-bye into your cylinder and you have to pull the head, so we're trying to avoid that. Instead, I pull the injector and I'll drop a zip tie down there and rotate the engine until I get the cylinder on top dead center. It's already on top dead center 1 and 6 though, because I have it marked on the flywheel. So I use a puller, screw it into the injector right there, and you'll use a slide hammer and disconnect your seal connector. You pull it out just a little bit to get past the injector, because it sits in the injector, and use a slide hammer, yank it up, and out will come your injector. I already did it, so let's make it easier to pull out, but there you go. And you'll stick a zip tie down there and make sure your height is right, because we don't want these valves dropping in there. But right now I know it's already good because it's on top dead center. I mentioned about making sure you're on top dead center, and I can't explain how important that is, because if it's not in the right spot, you will drop these valves down your cylinder, then you're pulling the head off. So I use a zip tie, stick it down there. It's already bottomed out the piston, didn't go far at all. Pull it back out. You can see the very tip has a little bit of oil on it, a little fuel on it where it's wet at, but we're on top dead center on number 1 and number 6. And I can visually see it with the little flashlight down there. I already checked it, but we're there, so we're safe to use this tool now. So this is a tool installed cylinder number 1. We use the bolts to hold the tool down. Had to use some washer to space it up to have the correct size. They're 10mm by 1.5 and 55mm long is the correct one to use. Here's our tool that goes on the valve spring itself. The keeper's down in there, so we'll compress this and pull the keeper out. Take the tool off and take the spring. But let me try it out first before I record it. Alright, you have it pressed down. First you want to tap on your top of your spring with a little hammer to get the keepers to kind of separate. But once you pull it down, lever down, you'll use this piece right here to lock it in. And as you can see, right down here, which is kind of hard to get some better light, our keepers came loose. So now use a magnetic screwdriver to pull those keepers out. Then we'll release the tool and pull the valve spring off and pull the seal out. So that's where we're at right now. The tool works pretty good. There's a picture of it. Now we got the springs off. There's your seal. Use a pair of pliers or a screwdriver and pull that off, and that's what we're replacing. Oil's getting in there, getting blow by out the exhaust ports where it's all wet in there, which ruins the DPF system. So tool worked out pretty good. One thing about this tool is you gotta do one by one. I'm used to the Cat and the Cummins tool, which does all four at the same time, but whatever works to get it done. So your valve guide seal's off now, which I got right here. So you're gonna want to check your play in this back and forth. Should have maybe 1,000. There's a spec in whichever engine you have. The manufacturer has a spec in there. Check it. This one has a little excessive, but we're gonna just repair it for now, and we'll deal with the head later in time when it fails. This is your new valve guide seal. Already installed this one though. Very simple. There's a tool that I actually ordered. It's not here yet, so what I did is I put it on a socket like so up in here. You gotta make sure it fits properly, and just tapped it on there with a rubber mallet. Checked to make sure no damage was done. It looks good. Now I already put the spring back on and the keepers back in, and that is how you do your valve guide seals. So this has an inner and an outer, so slide them on there. You'll grab your retainer, which go on there. Readjust the tool so that it compresses down. Here's the rest of our tool. There's two sides, an exhaust side and intake side. See, it's skinnier, the intake valves, and it's fatter for the exhaust valves. So make sure you have the right side, otherwise you could cause damage. And then you will push this down like so, and you'll lock the other one so it stays down. Now you can see the groove down there where our keepers sit. So usually get some grease, you'll grease them up, and then you'll carefully put them down up in there. See, I greased the keeper up, then I gotta carefully stick it back in there, drop it into place, and I use a pocket screwdriver to seat it properly, but I can't really do that while holding the phone, so I'm gonna do that real quick and show you what the end result looks like. Well, you can see kind of what the keeper is in place. It's all greasy because grease holds it in place, but as you can see, it's like that, and then once it's collapsed on both sides and looks like it's secure, both ends are touching, you'll release the tool. See here, loosen that, carefully go up, and we are looking good. Our keeper's in. There's a little extra grease on there we can wipe off once we get this tool out the way, but that is one exhaust valve guide seal being replaced on a Paccar MX10 engine. After you do this one, you'll flip the tool around to do the intake sides. So it's a very time consuming job, but that's how it's done. The importance of this repair is to try to keep the oil out of your DPF system. You don't want the oil coming in through your turbo and wiping out your DOC and your DPF. That repair can get expensive. So this little video is going to help you take care of that issue, and hopefully this doesn't happen to you.